Hello again, and welcome to Is Sassy Surviving to Thriving for You, Part 2. In this portion of the series, we will look at the first 5 steps of the process, along with the 2 additional components necessary for helping you move from survival mode to thriving. We will also take a look at a very simplistic example of how Sassy can be used at the most basic level. Here, you'll notice that SASSY is an acronym, and each letter of SASSY represents the first letter of each of the 7 steps in the process. As said, in addition to these 7 steps, there are 2 additional components that involve identifying a targeted area of survival, as well as setting a desire or intention. These components usually become apparent within the first 2 to 3 steps of the SASSY Surviving to Thriving process. Though there are many, one of the ways we could use to identify your targeted area of survival is by using a version of the life balance wheel. Here is an example of what a completed one would look like based on an individual satisfaction level in each of the areas. Looking at the areas marked as those of least satisfaction, or those with the arcs closest to the center of the wheel, it's apparent that the financial sector could very likely be the targeted area of survival and the area most desirable for improving. Based on this information alone, a desire or an intention may be to increase the amount of money left in your bank account after all monthly necessities and bills have been paid. Once you've identified your targeted area of survival, you're ready for more in-depth self-reflection. Again, though there are numerous ways an individual can self-reflect, the outcome of any avenue will always bring about awareness that may not originally have been easily recognized or apparent. For example, you may feel as though you never go out to eat, and if you do, you're always careful to keep the bill to a minimum by foregoing the glass of wine or beer, and by eating a dessert you have at home instead of ordering one from the restaurant. However, as you self-reflect upon your financial behaviors, you begin to realize that each morning stop at the local cafe for a muffin and a cup of coffee on your way to work costs you no less than $4.50. Suddenly you've found the destination for $22.50 of your money per work week, $90 of your money per month, and $1,080 of your money per year. With this simple awareness, you have the knowledge necessary to move into the next phase of the SASSY cycle called alignment. However, before we do so, I'd like to also say that the process of self-reflection may not only bring about awareness of particular actions, but also awareness of beliefs an individual possesses that drives their actions. That gets a bit more in depth into the mental-emotional sector of surviving. For example, an individual may have been given food as a child as a way of making an unpleasant situation more tolerable. Again, I know you don't like going to the doctor's, but if you're good, we'll stop for ice cream on the way home. In later years as an adult, if this individual is unhappy with their job, they may unconsciously be using their daily cafe run as a salve for the unpleasantness of the next 8 hours that awaits them. Getting back to the process, as we begin to move into the alignment process, you will begin to assess which actions will bring you closer to versus further away from your desire or your intention in that targeted area of survival. It's not enough to identify these actions, but rather action must be taken. This can often be the most uncomfortable part of the SASSY process because it can require us to go out of our comfort zones and take actions that we typically wouldn't take. However, if we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got. That said, the SASSY cycle allows you to have complete control over making decisions around actions that will allow you to stretch yourself, but will still allow you the choice in just how much stretching you do. It's important to recognize that even small steps can make a big difference. So let's go back to the example of a daily cafe run and its impact on the ability to thrive financially. With a simple change in perception and by aligning your actions to your desire to have more money in your bank account after all monthly necessities and bills have been paid, great changes can be made with minimal effort. In this example, if you forego the cafe run and instead visit a local grocery store once a week to purchase coffee and muffins for that week, you can save $3.35 a day, $16.75 a work week, $67 a month, and $804 a year. And that's just making one possible realignment of your actions. Regardless of what area you're working on, in order to move into the mode of thriving, taking new actions can sometimes be difficult. Either you are unable to come up with actions you haven't already tried before, or you're uncomfortable taking those actions that are new to you. So this is where support can be helpful. Allowing others to help can make all the difference in whether you stay in survival mode or whether you begin to move beyond it to thrive. Your support system consists not only of other people, but it can also include activities or practices as well that will aid you in reaching your desired outcome in the targeted area of survival. One way of getting support in this example of moving out of survival mode financially would simply be to ask someone to join you in your efforts in avoiding the daily cafe run and the added expense of it. You may ask a friend for support by sharing your plan with them and asking them to nudge you, not nag you, if they see you beginning to slip and fall away from taking the actions you'd committed yourself to taking during the alignment and action steps of the SASSY Surviving to Thriving process. So in part 2, you've seen how easily the first 5 steps, along with the 2 additional components of the SASSY Surviving to Thriving process, can be used and incorporated into your life. Join me for is SASSY Surviving to Thriving for You, Part 3, to look at the final 2 steps of the process, along with hearing testimonials as proof of how the process has worked in moving individuals, including myself, from surviving to thriving. Thank you for joining me for Part 2.